It is unmeasurable what you've done. Okay, so best of luck to you. And we've had so much fun with you and Tammy at MML events and the Christmas parties and stuff, but we'll see you again. Bob, you are amazing. You are dedicated. You are strong. You are loved, not by just me and not just by your family, but by this town and MML. You are a teacher, a mentor, a coach, a leader, a Hall of Famer, a son, a brother, a husband, a dad, a peepaw, and a friend. These are lifelong achievements. They are some of your most momentous achievements. These will go with you everywhere you go. You have served this town with such love and compassion. You have respectfully made many friends and a few enemies through this amazing journey. The many laughs and the good times that we have had with the council members and their families, Jason, Peter, Scott, Larry, and just started with Patty, Mayor Pat, the town attorney Tom and his wife Debbie, the town staff like the girls and all the others, MML leaders like Jake, Roger, David, Jan, just to mention a few, and the citizens of this town will hopefully continue. Friendships and respect don't just end here. Though a difficult and personal decision not to run, it was one that you made through strength and through heartache. I admire your strength and I feel your heartache. Your volunteerism in this town started a long time ago with Maya. In fact, some of us at Maya had you pegged to be a mayor someday. You were close, but obviously we were wrong. It was your time at Maya that brought you to Parks and Recs that evolved from there to where you sit now. I'm so proud of who you are and what you have done over the past years, not just here at this council table, but in your life in general. I know your time as a councilman has ended at this table, but your involvement in the town won't. It won't end here. And to the enemies, I'm sorry, not sorry. Who knows what you'll do next? You will continue to make a difference no matter where you get involved. The next part of the journey is about to begin. I can't wait to see where it takes you. And thanks for taking me along. I love you.
All right, I don't think we have any other speakers on the agenda for tonight, so we move on to approval of the council minutes. We've got the February 19 minutes, the April 19 minutes, the various closed minutes, and we were handed a new one with a few slight changes that Larry had.
And I have one more change for those. We have a downtown vision plan, number 7. Frank Dirksball spoke downtown vision plan. The very next one calls it a downtown master plan. I would think we will.
Yeah, it should be vision for both of those. You see that, Debbie? Okay. Yeah, number 7.
It's line 7, but
It says, it calls it the vision plan in the first statement and the master plan in the second statement. We were using master, for those, we used master plan at one time, and then we decided master plan is an actual legal document that means something legally, a vision plan doesn't. So we changed it to vision plan. So they should both be vision plan. Okay, I will move we accept it with the changes that Larry had and the ones Bob had.
second.
Okay, I'll second from Larry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. It's a lot harder to keep track of everybody at this new table design, I gotta tell you. At least with the old table, I could always see everybody. Yeah. So if I don't notice you, you'll have to tip me off here. All right. Police report. Chief?
Good evening, Chief Reese, the Mount Airy Police Department, with the monthly chief's report for April. During the month of April, we attended 6 meetings and trainings. They included the Crisis Intervention Team Refresher Course, the opening ceremonies for the Maryland Special Olympics at Westminster High School, the Carroll County Chiefs of Police meeting, an MML Police Executive Association Developmental Training Course Conference, and we had Lieutenant Snyder and PFC Geneva attended first aid, CPR, and AED instructor training, so we can train our officers in our department now solely without having to send them someplace else to be trained. And our community policing area, we presented at the Freemasons Prudence Lodge a status of the department talk. We assisted with traffic direction for the Bulldog Dash 5K. We participated in the National Prescription Drug Take Back Day with assistance from the Recycling and Sanitation Commission. I'd like to reach out, thank them for assisting us with that as well. We assisted the Cub Scout Pack 1191 with their soapbox derby. We also hosted an active shooter training at the Calvary Methodist Church. PFC Brooks completed instructions at the Mount Airy Middle School for the 8th grade drug awareness program. He taught approximately 12 different classes. He also attended and presented a drug awareness event that was held at the American Legion Gold Star Post 191. That event was sponsored by the American Legion Auxiliary, VFW Post 1076 Auxiliary, and the Lance Corporal Robert W. Dean MCL Auxiliary as well. We would also like to thank and recognize Doris Bujanowski for putting that together and inviting us to come and present to the community. We also received a $4,000 grant from the Carroll County Board of Education to provide overtime for enforcement related to school bus safety. The police department is conducting enforcement in and around school zones, as well as following school buses to apprehend violators who run the flashing red lights. This month, we utilized 15.5 hours of the grant overtime. We followed 12 buses, made 4 traffic arrests, including 1 DUI, and that was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We issued a total of 29 total citations for speeding and other various motor vehicle violations, and we did not observe or receive reports on any school bus red light violations. Upcoming events: June 1st, we have the Back to Blue 5K and 1 mile fun run at Watkins Park. This benefits the Mount Airy Police Department Community Services Fund, which is a 501c3 organization that supports the Mount Airy Police Department's community engagement programs, such as Shop with a Hometown Hero and National Night Out. If you would like to register for the Back to Blue 5K event for the Mount Airy Police Department, you can visit the website, which is www.backtoblue5k.com. And this is run by a totally separate company. They come in and they set it all up and they put it together and take care of everything for the 5K. We will be holding the 2nd annual Mount Airy National Night Out. It's still in the planning stages, and preliminarily, it looks like it's going to be at the Fire Carnival grounds again, with any luck. As far as the department's performance, we handled 823 calls for service during the month. We had 3 Part 1 crimes, 15 Part 2 crimes. We made 5 criminal arrests, issued 1 civil citation, and took 59 investigative reports. In the traffic enforcement area, we conducted 154 traffic stops. We issued 115 traffic citations and 127 warnings, and 25 equipment repair orders. Again, we made 5 DUI arrests for the month of April, and we also made 8 traffic arrests, which include driving while suspended and driving while revoked. One incident that was interesting during the month, we had a short change scheme in town where the suspects come in and they try to exchange a large sum of money, usually $100 increments, and they try to make change with the attendant, and through a sleight of hand, they end up taking money and they hand more money back, and they confuse the attendant, and they end up walking out with more money than they had in the first place. So we had approximately 5 suspects that did that on Friday, April 26th, at the Mount Airy Shopping Center. They actually visited several businesses and made several different attempts from different businesses until they finally found one where they were successful. So we received a call from them, and we did make 1 apprehension, and we're still trying to identify other suspects. So that's kind of a message out to our business partners. Be on the lookout. You might want to have a policy, revise your policies. If you get large sums of money, someone comes in and wants to make change with that, I would basically say, we can't do that here, and send them on their way. So there's nothing says that you have to make change for them. So but that's some of the tricks that they're using. as far as the overdose summary, we did have 2 overdoses in town this month that involved heroin. And on one occasion, excuse me, the EMS did use naloxone, so. And that will be.
Fatalities?
Report, I'm sorry.
Fatalities?
No, they're just overdoses, no fatalities.
You had a level, you done, sir?
Yes, sir.
You had a level 1 crime where one of your council member, Patty, brought this to my attention. You had a level 1 crime where one of your officers subdued someone and held them for some amount of time.
No, it was 2 larcenies and a burglary.
I shot Heather an email, so it wasn't. We'll talk later about level 1s.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I ask a question? The grant that y'all received, is that something that the department applied for?
The Carroll County Board of Education applied for it, and
Okay.
then they share it with all the law enforcement agencies in the county. It's given them, and they basically divvy it up between each jurisdiction.
Okay, all right, well, that's great, thanks.
Eddie, I can see your mic is off. Okay, just double check. We gotta get used to this new system up there. Okay. The fire company, well, obviously, Bruce, who normally gives us our report, is busy counting votes. So he'll probably give us that later when he puts on his, chair of the Board of Elections hat. Community concerns, citizen comments. This is the time we set aside. If anybody wants to come up and address the council on any topics, come on up. Alice, welcome.
Is the mic on? Yeah.
I can hear it.
Alice Raskin, 1485 Old Annapolis Road, Woodbine, Maryland. I'm here to talk to you all about the 219 Mount Airy Main Street Farmers Market. It begins Wednesday, May 15th, and runs through September 25th. Hours are 3 to 7 each Wednesday, except for July 3rd. We're closed in honor of the Mount Airy fireworks celebration. We've got about 20 vendors lined up, about 13 that are full-time throughout the season, and the rest are part-time. We're accepting vendors, but this year we're trying to make everything agricultural related because that's the way it should be. So if we have we do have a jewelry vendor, but she's also making air plant necklaces, so that's somewhat agricultural related. We are opening the day with at 3 o'clock on May 15th with a garden party and an official ribbon cutting with the Maryland Secretary of Agriculture, Joe Bartenfelder. And events throughout the season will be themed each day. So the 22nd will be Taste of the Market. The 29th of May will be Mind, Body, and Spirit, and so on throughout the market season. We are also partnering with the Maryland Extension Food FSNE, which is Food and Nutrition Demos. We're having the Master Gardeners out. We have music every week, 4 to 6, which Larry and Mary Hushar will be in August, I believe, on the 7th. And we're going after a Marbitco grant. The town is going after a Marbitco grant on behalf of the market, MAMSA, and the town. And we're also going after a MERDEF grant, which we went through after last year. We did not get, but we've been asked to resubmit this year. So that's the extent of my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. I just put that on my calendar. It's like a grand opening, 3 o'clock on the 15th.
Yeah, it's, I think, Secretary Bartenfelder will be here 3:15 according to Wendy Peters, who set it up. And the official ribbon cutting will probably be about 3:30.
You're still gonna have the pizza guy.
We will have the pizza guy. So
Hey,
he buys from the market.
Okay.
So he makes a market pizza
and I
as
go
well.
down and get pizza.
Yeah,
And it's good pizza.
It's good pizza.
delicious
Yeah,
pizza.
oh yeah, it's good pizza. I've had quite a few of those last summer.
Any other questions?
Report too.
I don't. I'll let you do that
Thanks,
again.
Alice.
Thank you.
Any other citizen concerns, community comments? Anybody want to address the council on anything? Frank?
Good evening to the town council and the citizens of Mount Airy. I'd just like to follow up on last month, recognizing that you guys have, a big decision to make when it comes to the budget, and that raising taxes is something that's not been what you guys like to do, and that's what your decision, and that's fine. I haven't had much time other than just in the past few minutes to look over what had been done about the budget. But I know it'll get passed, and that'll get you by. So I have no doubts about that. You're pretty prudent with that. But I'm just wanting to note, I guess, as much as anything, that from what I can see, if I understand these correctly, this past year, or this year up to present, you're probably exceeding the budget by almost 1.5 million. So that's got to come out of some reserves, which we have. So that's okay. And your new budget, from what I see, takes another 1.8, probably close to 2, out in 2020. And okay, we've had reserves. They're sitting there and may as well play with them. But my point only is to the town council members and the future town council members that will be involved in this, that this town paid for and wanted a vision plan. And we've got a vision plan that the progressive people in this town think is in dire need of being done for this town. And even though we now have a plan, it will require the expenditure of a large sum of money to get anything done close to what that vision plan requires. And no, it won't be done in 1 or 2 years, but you guys, or we need to find the money to make it happen. And we're not talking nickel and dimes, we're talking millions of dollars that this is going to cost. I saw in here where we've allocated $200,000 toward the Flatiron Building. Okay, that's good. But that's a drop in the bucket to what else has to be done to make the beginning of that little area done on its own. So my point only is that, we went to all the trouble to create a vision plan, and by that, it is implied that you folks want to move forward with redeveloping Mount Airy so that it will prosper. And the only way it's going to happen is by spending money. And yes, we have reserves at the moment, but these projects that are coming down the line in the next couple of years are going to eat that money alive. And you'll be sitting there with empty pockets. And, unless you guys start finding money somewhere to pay for some of these projects, when this stuff comes down the line, you're just gonna have to say, I'm sorry, we don't have the money for it. We'll just have to think about it and hope a developer pays for it. And that probably won't happen completely. So I'd like you to be more prudent with your planning and more forward-thinking, longer range with what's coming down the pike. And it's not just this town vision plan that's coming down the pike. There's a whole bunch of other projects, including your future police station. All these things are going to cost millions of dollars. And this money has to come from somewhere. And we should still be prudent enough to have reserves for whatever else comes down the pike that nobody's thought about. That's what the reserves are really for, not to be used up front before, when we have all these other projects I'm just disappointed to see that we haven't budgeted more money toward this vision plan than we have as of tonight that I see. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Anybody else?
Peter, I have a public comment as a resident, and that's just because we had 3 candidates who were up there all day at the carnival grounds, and And they had 5 gallons, I believe, of Starbucks coffee that was up there that was donated by Starbucks. So a shout out to Starbucks of Mount Airy for providing that coffee, as well as the continuous flow of baked goods that seemed to stem from the O'Brien house that has made me loosen a belt loop. So, but anyway, so thank you, Doc and Nancy, and a shout out to Starbucks.
Thanks, Larry.
Yep.
All right,
Key lime pie was my favorite, Doug.
all right, let's move on to ordinance resolutions. Annexation Resolution 42, Dorsey Town. You'll note that's here for reintroduction only. That's because they couldn't get to us what needed to be done in timely enough to move it forward. Bob, that's your,
I would introduce it.
and I will second that, so you all have to deal with that in the future months. It's just being pushed off. And we do the reintroduction to make sure we don't cross any timelines, just to keep it hot. Ordinance 2019-3, adopting the budget, set tax rate for the town of Mount Airy. That's here for adoption. I will move we adopt it. Do I see a second? I saw Patty's hand go up first. Sorry, Jason. I'm trying to use my peripheral vision here as well as I can. All right, any discussion?
I have a comment to make toward something that was brought up during the public comments. Certainly that downtown vision plan incorporated a lot of things that have to be done in a certain sequence. And the planning commission did a great job of outlining what they view as priorities. And I think we've all heard that. We do know that the gas line is a priority. That's something that we need to be working on. We also, in this budget, the mayor has included money for the engineering of the water lines going up Center Street. In the sequence of things, that's what we need. We need the engineering to figure out how to continue Center Street. And once we have that, that leads to whatever the next step might be. And there may be 10 possibilities of how we go to the next step. But I would say that the council and certainly the mayor has done a good job of looking at that vision plan and trying to get us on a path that gets the good stuff in that done. So that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah, and just to compliment, hopefully what Larry said, because I totally agree. By the way, we are recommending the tax rate stay the same. Once again, we actually lowered it last year. And the vision plan is a vision plan to guide private development mostly when it comes in. It's not a master plan that we need to implement as a town, nor do we plan to implement it as a town. It is a guide for future development as it comes. There certainly are components of the vision plan that the town will address, but mainly the components that are going to be addressed will be addressed through private industry and not through taxpayer money. Thank you.
Peter.
Bob?
And just to augment what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, as we walk around putting gas in our cars at 7-Eleven and all, we get people that walk up and talk to us. And it just so happened that one of the Becks and I were getting gas side by side the other morning, and me not willing to have an ex parte discussion, I just listened. Okay, as I was instructed by one of our guys that sits in the back. So I just listened, and they basically what they're asking, and I told them they're really going to have to come here and have the conversation. They just want us to stay out of the way, do the things that we want to do first, which is the zoning has to happen first, and next is the gas line to the bank building. And by that time, they think that they will have a plan put together that they can bring to the planning commission to get started on this thing. And it really doesn't involve us other than, the regulation of it. But, they basically want us to get out of the way and let them do what they want to do. Let them do what, the planning commission says they can do. So it's, a lot of it is private development. I'm done. That's it.
All right. I would say Mount Airy functions on a very tight budget. We do not waste your money. Our tax rate this year is 16 point something? Yeah, so 16 cents, 16 something cents per hundred. If you go up to like Westminster, which is only twice the size of Mount Airy, last time I checked, they were 56 cents per hundred. And if you even go to the smaller towns around here, they're still more than we are. And on top of that, something that most people don't recognize is your assessments on your home are fixed. So for example, if you go to some other town, they may go, oh, we dropped the tax rate from 20 cents to 19 cents. Okay, that sounds real good, but your assessment jacked your house up, so you're still paying more. Not here in Mount Airy. Your assessments have been frozen since, as long as I've been on the council, which is 16 years.
Qualify for homestead tax credit though.
Your homes, right, it's only your home. If it's
homestead
not
tax,
your, if
right.
it's not your home that you live in, you don't get that benefit.
New resales cost more.
But if you're in your house, your taxes have actually gone down over the years. When I started, we were over 20 cents per hundred, we're now 16 something. And if you've lived in your house that whole period of time, your assessment has remained exactly the same. You're paying less in taxes. I don't know another government that can say that. I can also say that if you look at our dollars, we have more in reserves than they even think you're supposed to keep in reserves for a town of our size. So the town is very well off. Years ago, a friend of mine who was in banking, who did the banking for the town, he was like, man, you guys have so much money saved. It's just, the town is in very good financial shape because we're very prudent and we're working through things slowly, sometimes too slowly, but better safe than sorry. Any more discussion on the budget?
One
Patty?
other thing I would like to say, and this is a shout out to the gentleman to my left, Councilman Hushhour and his wife Mary. They work very hard to make sure that we can get grants for the town. And that's a lot of money that doesn't come out of our pocket. That's a lot of money that we don't have to take in from taxes from the residents. And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're up to 1.6 million.
Over $1 million.
We're over $1 million. So that's a lot of money that's not coming out of our pocket. So we're looking at other ways to make the town a better place to be and have more amenities for people that live here. And, we have people really working hard to make sure that that happens and it's not happening on the backs of the taxpayers. I understand that the vision plan, it looks extremely extremely progressive for our town. And there's some people that don't want a progressive movement. So we're trying to make sure that we listen to everyone. And at the end of the day, we do know that things have to happen in logical steps. So the 200,000 that you may have seen for the Flatiron Building, that may be because we'll have an Arts Alliance that may be in that building for the interim, depending on what happens to it in the long run. But that's another amenity and something else that will make this town more vibrant. So we do hear what you're saying and we appreciate those thoughts, but we want you to know that we're not just sitting back and thinking that, we're not going to do anything. We are taking little baby steps.
Thanks, Patty, and thanks, Larry. I know you've done a lot to get grants, and I'm not in favor of the government giving out money, but if it does, I'm gonna take some.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been our town philosophy.
That's been good, but
And we've gotten a lot of grant money that saves a lot.
and the staff had a lot to do with that.
Yes, they do. They do. All right, unless there's any more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, that was everybody aye. Okay, unanimous. Let's move on. Ordinance 2019-4. This is to allow consideration of local bidders, contractors, suppliers making purchase. This is just being here to be reintroduced. I will reintroduce it. Do I see a second? I see Bob's pen flying up. That is reintroduced. That will be on the agenda for next month. Resolution 2019-4 to allow alcohol in the streets for Oktoberfest. I will move that we accept this. Do I see a second? I see a second from Patty. Any discussion on this? This is basically what we did last year and done in prior years. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. All right, we have no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. Street closing request for Oktoberfest, which goes along with that. Once again, the same thing. I will move that we accept the street closing request for Oktoberfest. I see Bob's finger already up in the air. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that was unanimous. I gotta tell you, really gotta keep looking up and down. I've forgotten the advantage, that old table, man, I could see everybody at once. I'm like, you need, That's hard.
There you go. Back to the camera.
All right, a request for approval of purchase of the two Ford F-250s. This is coming from Brian. Here we go. And Brian has given us two requests from Century Ford on the state's fleet prices, 40,190 and 40,895 for the two trucks. I will move that we accept those two. Do I see a second? Mary or Patty, doesn't matter which, they're both up at the same time.
One or the other.
Any discussion on this? I see Brian back there, so if there's any questions, we can, Larry, you got a question? Brian's back
Yeah,
there.
I really had a question about procedure. So are we turning in any trucks? Is there a trade-in or what? Okay, with the trade-in, is it still 40,000 per truck? Okay, so that's what the trade-in?
I think they were each 5,000 for the trade-ins, weren't they?
Okay, I see Charlene saying a no.
35,000.
If you look at this one,
Okay,
each one has a, cover, which is the sticker on the truck, and then the second page shows the.
It shows, I see it, yeah.
And then what we'll be paying for the truck.
oh,
So
okay.
it's actually 335, and 510 is the actual price after you take the two, one of them was a 5,500 trade-in, the other was a 5,000 trade-in.
And how long do we, the ones you're trading in, what year models are they? Okay, all right, about 10 years, so that's pretty good.
Well, I also find that if you actually go out and you get in one of these trucks, you're like, oh, it's only got 28,000 miles on it, but your feet are going through the floor because they've been throwing salt.
Yeah,
The first year I looked at it, Larry, I went down, I said, let me see these trucks. I went down and my feet went to the floorboard. I'm like, okay, I won't be checking the trucks anymore.
When we get rid of a truck, man, it's,
But
it's
I had
basically
to-
good
I had
for the
to look
golf
at it.
course driving range, they had balls at.
yeah, all right, cool.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. All right, we got police dog on here, chief.
Yes, we're looking for permission to go ahead, council approval to go ahead and restart our canine program with the police department.
There's a cost associated, that cost is not in the budget.
Other than what we budgeted, no, there shouldn't be any cost.
Well, then it's not a
And I
legislative
don't know that,
action.
and I don't
It's
think
not
the
a
council needs
legislative
to come
action.
to it at this point.
Only if it requires money. Let's have a
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's already budgeted, you would just need to run it through the mayor to make sure that he approves cutting the checks for whatever you need.
But we want to keep in mind the training, the associated time off for training, because it's not just a one cost. Originally was not in favor of the dog program this early on. It has proven itself in a lot of ways. Let's have a discussion. You were very amenable on the budget process, so let's have a discussion, but I think there's other costs that we may have to bring back to council. And not just the 3,000 that was in there. There's gonna be some other costs involved that I think we all need to look at first.
Okay.
So let's put the package together and see what we got.
All right. Up next, design build of the Summit Ridge Park Pavilion. We've got that in front of us here from Barney. It looks like, we've received an $82,430 grant. And we need to put in $22,631 to get this done. Barney, anything else we need to know on it?
No,
what's here?
it was only a single bid that we received, but we find that that's a very reasonable price. Kind of what it's expected as, again, it's almost like an 80-20 as far as the cost.
Yeah, so we're getting a $105,000 pavilion for $22,000 because we got grants paying the rest of it.
And it's the same company that is building the Caboose Pavilion.
Oh, okay. All right.
Barney, and, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead, Larry.
you want to make the motion? or-
I will, well, it's parks, so
Okay.
you should probably do it.
All right, I'll move it in.
And I'll second that.
How big is this pavilion in comparison to our Watkins Park Pavilion?
I think it's pretty much the exact same size.
Okay, all right, so
Watkins
it's
Park,
good size
And
pavilion.
it will have the tongue and groove, wood underneath the roof, so it'll look nice.
Yeah, so $20,000 ain't bad for,
No, that's a hefty pavilion.
And I remember when we redid the Watkins Pavilion, it was like 105, I believe. It was right near 100.
It came with all those tables.
Yep.
Tables got it.
Okay. That's all I got.
This doesn't have tables though, right? It's just
It
pavilion.
actually includes 8 tables, 8 picnic tables, yep.
That's a good
A-
price then.
And the concrete pad, which I think Watkins already had the pad.
Yes, yeah,
We
Watkins
didn't
had a pad.
change that.
Any electric?
That'll be done separate. Provisions for electric, but the electric would be an adder.
Heck of a price.
All right, any other discussion on this? All in favor, say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Frank?
Just a thought on that, Barney.
Frank,
No.
it not, yeah. I mean, if you just had something quick, that's fine, but otherwise can't.
What about solar? Can we put, is it a possibility that solar could be put on the pavilion?
I would say, why don't you talk to Barney about that offline? Yeah.
An idea.
Good idea, though.
Yeah, talk to him, send Barney an email on that, he can certainly look into solar. Okay, up next, annual sidewalk curbs contract for 19 and 20. Barney, this is yours again, we've got it here.
Yep, for this one, we received 2 bids. And basically, this project is mainly for South Main Street, getting started, but it'll also be something that we'll use for the next couple of years for any new sidewalks that we need to do, so we don't have to rebid every time. So they have unit costs for, everything that they're gonna be doing. $68,149 was the amount, and this will put sidewalks around the telephone poles. It'll also mount, we purchased mailboxes already, so it'll mount those mailboxes in the grass area behind the sidewalks, get about 50 to 60 mailboxes out of the
Okay.
sidewalk.
Is that gonna happen at my building? I know we talked about it at one point, and they showed you a place you could go, but I don't know.
And
if
we have space for your building, so
Okay. All right,
if you want it, yes,
okay, we'll talk about it.
okay.
So I'm just trying to understand, where exactly is this going to
So
be?
it'll
on
start
the
from
street?
Caldwell Drive, near the barbecue, and come down to Hood Street. So there's, I think, 66 parcels that have mailboxes. Not everybody, some have PO boxes, so I'm thinking at least 50 mailboxes.
Just on the one side?
On the one side, right, we're gonna replace those with 10 cluster boxes with no more than 8 mailboxes in one, have like 4 parcel boxes. Again, that'll be not in the sidewalk, so the mail carrier will have to get out of the vehicle and walk to the grass, to that area. But that way, there's no obstructions in the sidewalk.
It does not include a gas line.
Does not include a gas line.
There's no gas line there, right?
No,
Okay. Somebody asked me about that. Also, there's a very nice.
well, there's no gas going up.
Right,
Main
no,
Street,
no,
so-
but somebody asked me about it, and there's a really nice lady on the corner. Are you working with her? She has 2 little dogs, and she said she was talking to you about her mailboxes. Have you
So we
straightened her?
did a lot of door-to-door talking with people. I'm not
We
sure
can,
which
we
one.
can talk offline.
Okay,
Well, we budgeted 200,000, you're asking for 68, right?
yes, yeah, and mailboxes were already taken out of that.
Okay. So, I will move, we accept this contract. I see Bob seconding. Any more discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, mayor and council reports. Mr. Mayor.
My report will be delivered later. I have some commission appointments. Councilmember Patty and I would like to reserve some time at the end of the reports to make a statement.
I have it tagged on here.
For the May 2019 council appointments, it's not the results yet.
Nope. Well, we'll do it till we're
I'm
done, so.
recommending Brian Beta to be reappointed to the Board of Appeals, Raymond Miller to be appointed to Economic Development, and Mary Beth Worthington, Russell Reynolds, I hope I said that right, Dawn Neary, and Kelly Neff, all to be appointed to the Mount Airy Sustainability Commission. And that's all I have. If I can have approval.
I will move, we accept the mayor's recommendations. It looked like Bob had his, I'll give that one to Jason.
And I think Frank Dirtsball is gonna sit in and be a quasi-member and bring up those solar panel things.
Any discussion on these? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, look unanimous. All right,
And that was Ray Miller, you said, for
Yeah.
EDC?
yeah.
You finally made the cut.
That's a good choice.
Okay, that's the mayor's report. Beautification, Parks and Rec. Larry?
All right, Parks Board, pickleball kind of sums up the whole month. Once we opened that pickleball court, everybody showed up. I drove past it 5 times today, and 4 out of 5 times there were people out there playing pickleball
My wife was
at
out there.
Prospect
Today.
Park. So it's, so we're looking at a secondary location in the back basketball court of Prospect Park, but who'd have thunk it? 2 years ago, a guy showed up at the Parks and Rec meeting. I don't know if you were there or not, Bob, but he showed up and said, "You're going to want to know me." And he brought up pickleball, and we had no idea what he was talking about, but it's here to stay. We had a young Eagle Scout candidate, Eric Daniels, show up and tell us about tiny libraries, which are going to be popping up in 3 of the parks in town. I believe it's Wildwood, Watkins Park, and Prospect Park. Just small libraries. You get a book out of it, you can walk around, read it, and if you got a book you want to give up, then you trade them out. And it's they're called tiny libraries, and he's working on those and worked with Brian Johnson to figure out the locations. Camp night discussions are going to be beginning. The tentative date for camp night will be August 10th, combined with a movie that we haven't picked out yet. The new sign is at the Twin Arch Crossing Park. That's in location. Everybody seems to be pleased with the results. There's some events that occurred last month. The highlights, lots of events. Ashley Collier's doing a great job on staff for that. We had the first rock skipping contest at Prospect Park, which was a lot of fun. And then we had the Walk in the Park series at the East West Nature Trail that occurred at the same time that another Eagle Scout was out there cleaning up the trail. We have several upcoming events. The highlights are May 18th is the Mamza Glow Run, which will be a dusk run through our 5K course, I believe. And then June 1st is the Back the Blue that the police chief already mentioned. The caboose is now being staffed by a town employee Saturday and Sunday, noon to 4 p.m. So you can, if you want to bring somebody out, if you have visitors in town, noon to 4, Saturday and Sunday, which corresponds to the hours that the museum is open. So you got a reason to come downtown now. Next meeting is May 16th at 7 p.m. Beautification meeting. We heard from Eric Daniels as well about the tiny libraries. We are discussing quite a bit with staff about the entry banner holding sign, the one across from McDonald's that's plywood. It's about 10 feet wide, and we're talking about trying to do something that's prettier up there, because right now it's just a big, ugly sheet of plywood that served its purpose, and now we'd like to do something a little more fancy. We had Eagle Scout Zach Miller, who showed up at East West Park, laid down 2 truckloads of stone to get us through all the wet areas, which really helped out quite a bit. He put up mileage markers every 1/10 of a mile. He fixed the bridge that was had the railings that were coming off, and he also created a sign out there that has a map on it now. So if you go out to East West Park, you can actually see where you're going, and you're not just walking
That's
down.
great, Larry. I mean, I actually heard from people who said they, we needed that, so it's great to see
Yeah.
that's getting done.
Yeah, so that's out there, and he put a couple other informational brochures up there, which is nice. The next meeting for beautification is May 14th at 7 p.m. Quickly, the Historical Society T-shirts are on the way. The T-shirts are going to feature a old flour sack. The Mount Airy Milling Company will be on the back, so it's kind of a tan shirt, kind of looks like a washed out white. And you'll have the logo for the Mount Airy Milling Company on the back and a Historical Society up front. I think they're going to sell them for $20 a piece, being made by SK Printing down the road. And of course, the museum's open noon to 4, Saturday, Sunday. And probably during the farmer's market. Have they said anything to you? Yes, okay, during the farmer's market as well. Thank you.
Larry, comment that I've heard on the pickleball, is that a nice Eagle Scout project would be some benches to go outside the fence there, because
Oh, yeah?
pickleball players sit and rotate in and out.
Okay.
So some benches there, and another thing I was told is that I guess the pavement there is somewhat uneven, and you'll actually get, it needs to be topped or leveled, because the balls will sometimes bounce the other way because of the
You can tell Tammy will take
uneven
care of it.
pavements. I have not just heard from her, I've heard from friends of hers too. which can be
Now,
far
now
more
that we've seen it, and Gina probably would know better than me, we are still talking about lining the Village Gate tennis courts?
I was gonna ask you, are you gonna do that?
Or are we on hold for that right now?
Because it needs more repair before.
Okay. Yeah, we have some net issues in Village Gate, so,
Okay.
but, anyway, we know the need is there,
Yeah.
and the desire.
Yeah, I'd never heard of pickleball until a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's the
All right,
thing.
thanks, Lori.
you.
All right, EDC planning, Bob.
EDC, we had our meeting on the 24th. The June 11th Tour of Possibilities is filling up. This is a tour where they're actually gonna go from 8 to 3:30, I think. Breakfast and lunch will be served, sponsored by some of the local businesses. And they'll take a bus and they'll run around and they'll look at vacant buildings and, actually get out and try to walk through some of them and that kind of stuff. But we're going to try to, merchandise, some of the buildings and get I can't think of the right word, but get an inventory together so that as people come to town looking for these kinds of places, we'll have something to send them to. May the 15th, we have a farmer's market going on down here, 3 to 7. Don't miss this one. It's in the rail yard. Don't miss this one. It's a good deal. Our next EDC meeting is on May the 22nd at 7 PM here. Planning Commission had a meeting on the 29th. We heard lots of public comments on Prospect Place down here. This is, the proposed apartment building that putting down here where the, on Hill Street, where the cold storage was. There will be more on that, I'm sure. We've scheduled a sign ordinance workshop for May the 13th. Is that right, John?
I think it's actually the 14th.
Okay. It kept going back and forth, and I'm not sure which it is at this point, so it'll be the 13th or 14th. And so the next, planning commission meeting is the 20th. Due to the Memorial holiday, the week after that, they're trying to put something in on the 20th. Now, I did tell them that we had swearing in and probably a short town council meeting that night, and then I guess they can just go on right after that. And that's my report.
All right. Jason, you want to talk some trash and sustainability?
Will do. I first want to thank the council candidates, Carl Munder and Pamela Reed, for running for town council and all of their effort and support in helping our town grow. Your efforts do not go unrecognized, so thank you very much for that. Beginning with May 18th is a yard waste day. It's also a paper shredding and battery recycling event at Watkins Park from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. At the last sustainability meeting, we had a heavy discussion about a community garden and trying to find a location with that. And Ashley was kind enough to attend either Parks and Recs and or beautification to find a location to get permission from that board about a rising location on Rising Ridge. So we're going to be working with those other two commissions to make sure that this new green idea comes to fruition. As the mayor stated this evening, we have several new commission members with some really great ideas. And we look forward to working with those new commission members in the future meetings. And as we are cutting grass, I just want to send a reminder to everyone that we do now have a yard waste ordinance in place for our town, and that's to protect our water and sewer system. So to make sure that grass clippings and leaves and those types of things are cleaned up out of our street. My next meeting will be May 15th.
It's recycling and sanitation, 7 PM at Town Hall. And that concludes my report.
Patty, streets and roads.
Mine is very easy because we did not have a meeting last month. But we're going to have one tomorrow, so if anybody doesn't have anything to do and you'd love to come back to the town hall, we'd love to see you.
And the roads are all working well, which is proof that they're
Yes,
doing a
they're
good
working
job.
very well. We're getting lots of people telling us some issues that are happening in our town, so I want to thank them for that, and we will be talking about that tomorrow.
All right, water and sewer. Our next meeting will be June 6th. We met last week. The big topic typically at water and sewer is looking at rates. They'll probably be looking at rates again in the near future now that the budget's done, and we'll start to see projections of where the town dollars are. The key is with the water and sewer fund, you are supposed to be at least breaking even on it. That's from an accounting perspective, the government requires that we not fund water and sewer, that it breaks even, and we're doing okay at the moment. The other big problem that we have, and we've budgeted some money for it, is I&I, which is water that leaks into our sewer system. We are right now running about twice as much water through our sewer system at our treatment plant as we're taking out of the wells, which means a tremendous amount of water is leaking into that system from, one problem is right now the water table is so high that some of our lines are now below the water table level. So we've budgeted some I&I money to try and fix that, because that causes the town problems on several levels. One problem it causes is we're getting very near the cap of what we're allowed to run through our sewage treatment plant. And that's a problem, because that could curb development and other things, because the state could come and say, hey, you've got no extra space, you can't flush any more toilets in this town because you're running too much water through there. The other problem is it costs money to process that water. So, in theory, we should be processing 600,000 gallons full of water, because that's what we're pumping out of the ground, but we're processing like 1.2 million gallons of water, and that costs a lot of money. Even if it's just sewer water, we still got to clean it, treat it, and deal with it. So I&I is going to be a big topic over the next probably couple years. So hopefully we'll get that sorted out. Next meeting will be June 6th. That'll be my water and sewer report. Monica?
Okay, the job opening for the town administrator position is now closed. We received 60 applications.
Wow.
60 applications. Wide variety of backgrounds and experience in education. This week, the review committee is going to begin to go through the applications down to like the top 10 people. And then we're going to probably do a second review round where we're going to narrow it down to 5 people to actually interview in person. We expect to set up those interviews later in May, and then the beginning of June, we hope to have a final recommendation.
If you want.
Let's do it. The other thing that the staff is working on is ideas and executions for celebrations and special events during the Mount Airy 125th anniversary. I think Melissa's taking the lead on that, and so we're going to make sure that our social media reflects all the upcoming celebrations and events that we have planned. So we look forward to a year-long celebration.
Cool. Thanks, Monica. Tom?
Very briefly, since our last meeting, I have not heard back from CSX, despite a couple of emails, so I'll follow up on that. Did work on implementing our provisional ballot ordinance. Also finished up the signs ordinance for one last review at the workshop on May 14th of the Planning Commission, and also attended the Planning Commission meeting where the Prospect Place concept plan presentation was made. And then finally, with the mayor and staff, met with, although I was by call, with the developer of Green Tree Prospect Mills and the Ellie's Flower Shop property over open space issues.
All right. Is there any reason why we need a closed meeting that you know of, or Larry? Okay, because we have a possible one on here, we just won't do it. Our code enforcement officer report, we got Matt's report. We've got a new code enforcement officer. Matt's actually taking it over now. So we've got his report here. Next, I think Patty and the mayor had something they wanted to.
Yeah, I want to defer to Councilmember Washbaugh. We wanted to do something special. Patty reached out to me and I actually had thought about something and then I forgot and Patty reminded me. So Patty's going to help me with this. Patty, I'll defer to you, then I'll read my statement.
Okay. Well, we wanted to do something special because there's two gentlemen sitting at this desk that have been sitting here for a long time. and they've dedicated a lot of hours and to our town to make it a better place. So, with that said, one of the things that they've done throughout the years is they've spent a lot of time not only at sitting at this table, but sitting at MML functions, and they attend the MML conferences every year down at Ocean City, and they've gotten to be known quite well. And so, a gentleman by the name of Lawrence, he goes by Jake Romanell. He's a town councilman for the New Market, Maryland area, and he's also immediate past president of the Maryland Municipal League. Wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't, so he asked if we would, say a few words from him. So I would like to read that to you. Dear Peter and Bob, I was planning to attend your final town council meeting to personally thank you for your outstanding community service over the years, but I've been preempted by my youngest grandson's first baseball game in Pennsylvania. I have to ensure that his feet are properly aligned when he takes his batting stance. This could be difficult to determine as the waistband of his pants goes up to my armpits. Peter, thank you for your your calm and steady leadership as council president during the good times, transition times, and strenuous times. Your constant grace under fire and ability to respectfully listen to all parties involved in an issue makes you a role model to be emulated by the public servants who come after you. I couldn't agree more. And thank you for your years of service on the Maryland Municipal League's Conference Planning Committee. The workshops and seminars which you and your colleagues on this committee have provided valuable information to be used by the thousands of newly elected municipal officials and recently hired municipal staff from across the state. Bob, we must be brothers from different mothers. We both started our community service by recognizing that the most important assets to our communities are our children. Your years of service to Maya as coach, board member, and president has provided many opportunities for young people to smile and laugh, and opportunities for their parents to develop a sense of community pride. Over the years, you've been Mount Airy's representative to the Frederick County chapter of the Maryland Municipal League. When one or more of the 12 municipalities in the county were experiencing a problem, you always shared a way, usually the Mount Airy way, to solve the problem. On behalf of your colleagues for the municipalities in Frederick County, thank you for your honesty and willingness to work together to maintain and improve our residents' quality of life. Gentlemen, thank you for your years of selfless community service. I wish you and your families a smooth path during the next phase of your life journeys. Your neighbor and friend, Jake.
Please hold your applause. To add to that, I think we're going to get the election results. We're going to congratulate our new council members. But tonight marks an end of a long history of community service in the elected capacity for two of our neighbors. I say community service because the council members that are retiring are not politicians as some have portrayed them, at times negatively. They do not receive large salaries, retirements, paid speaking engagements, book deals, unless y'all got some book deals I don't know about,
I'm ready to tell all book. You can't.
or paid board positions. We receive something far better that we can make a positive difference in our community. That's what we receive as community servants. Your elected leaders are no different than the scout leaders, your little league coaches, etc., and put themselves out in front of many controversial issues that impact us, and it can be very tough positions to be in. I want to thank them and their families. Their families really sacrifice a lot as they sought to serve and improve your communities. Council President Peter Helt's vast institutional knowledge will be missed by all. I don't think I've ever seen you mad, disrespectful, and that's a sign of a true gentleman. We are thankful for the many years you've served. Councilman Bob King, or Mr. Maya, I think some call you, or as most kids who are now adults know you as. You will also be missed, although we started out with differing views, and we maintain some of those views to this day. No one loved the town more or unselfishly as you did, and you will always have my respect and admiration for that. As we enter this new era, I asked the new council members and some of us more senior council members to commit to the civility that we've accomplished over the past 10 years. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think we got a good group, but we need to reaffirm that we will do that. With the civility we have achieved, we've accomplished much over the past 10 years. We've moved forward in positive ways unthinkable 10 years ago. And most would agree that's why we love this town. We also want to encourage new folks to step up and to take our place someday. And only through civility will those new folks come forward. It's unfortunate it's disheartening with some of the social media, emails, letter to the editors, that some take the opportunity to perhaps act differently than they might when they see us in person. That is unacceptable at any age. So if you think you're senior, you can get away with it, you can't. It's unacceptable and we should not allow it. We need to set a better example for our children as a community and as individuals starting today, starting with each of us. Let's pledge to do so. Let's keep community service what it was meant to be, what Peter and Bob have strived for and gave to us many years, the service from the heart. Our community is a better place because of you two. In your service, Bob, Peter, on behalf of myself, my fellow council members, and the grateful citizens of Mount Airy, job well done. Thank you. Let's give them a stand.
Thank you, everybody. I know Bob would say the same thing. Thanks, we've appreciated being here. Bob, you want to say anything?
Yeah, Peter and I grew up a block away from each other in Rockville. I've known Peter since he was 5 years old, and he hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah, I do have a lot less hair now.
Doing this job has been so much more fun than it's been aggravating. You get an opportunity to meet a lot of citizens in the town and talk to them about things that are on their mind. You get to work, I mean, to the point of screaming with some of these guys at the table here. When you're hard-headed like I am, they eventually scream at you. You take advantage of your family. I used to walk into my wife's office, her office, when I would get home from a Parks and Recs meeting at 10 o'clock at night and say, I need a flyer. Can you make me a flyer? And she said, yeah, when do you have to have this flyer? And I say, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And she would make the flyer. So, and we have, well, let's see, I wrote down all the groups here. The public keeps us straight, at the Walmart or at the gas pumps or somewhere. A group that never gets thanked for all that they do is the town staffers. The moment you get elected, you become the most important guy in the world to people that are down here, and all you have to do is think, and they call you up, and whatever it is you're thinking about, they want to do it for you. We kind of talk about this stuff here at the meeting, and they make it happen. They find a way to make everything happen. Our town commissions are a bunch of dedicated volunteers that go for hours into the dark, and they now almost all of the commissions are doing something that requires them to be Saturdays and Sundays out there. Sanitation and recycling's doing all these battery pickups and all that kind of stuff now. So it's just a great place to play. And thank you for allowing me to play here for the last however long.
Yeah, and I would say thank you to the citizens for allowing me to serve so long. One advice I would give the rest of the council is talk to staff. I have the advantage that I'm the guy who's here all the time, so I talk to staff all the time. Before you make any decisions, run it by staff. There is a tremendous amount of knowledge there. They can guide you through a lot of problems that you can cause. And I cannot tell you how many times I see Mark standing there, how many times when I started out and I was on streets and roads, how Mark steered me away from what would have been mistakes back when Mark was in charge of all that. Because he knew the details. I did. I was, oh, this sounds like a good idea. Well, Mark was like, well, here's why it's probably not. And he was always right. Because, we don't know those intricacies. We don't know the details of how this works and how that works, and they do. So I would say talk to them. Get involved in MML.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
For whoever's new coming on, and Patty, this will be your first time there, sign up for the Institute right away. I'm sure that Jason, Larry can tell you how to do that. Sign up, start taking those classes, get your qualifications in so that you get your, I guess it's a degree, your public policy degree. And the town funds that, and those classes are great. I would always tell people, you could kind of look at us all going to the beach for a couple days as kind of like a big, I think the term was boondoggle or something. But first time I went there, I learned something that would have never occurred to me. And if I screwed it up, it could have cost the town a lot of money. And so I was like, that every time I've gone was just paid for by the fact that I didn't screw that up. I knew enough, and I'm an attorney, and it was a legal issue. And when it came up, I knew enough to call our then town attorney, Richard Titus, and say, Richard, is this an A or a B situation? What can I do here? I knew enough because I took that class that I needed to go to him and find out which way we need to deal with that. And so there's tremendous things you can learn there. And I guess let's get on to the election results. Is Bruce here? I see the other guys, so come on in, Bruce. I assume you want to do election results first, and you want to put on we didn't get your fire company report.
Yes, well,
Well, you could make everybody wait and give your fire company.
of course, you all were assuming there wasn't like some major write-in or something, so. We'll start with the election results. First off, I'd like to thank the members of the Board of Election Supervisors, the town staff for all their effort in putting together one of our regular elections. Also, I'd like to thank the town attorney for the last few days. We had to deal with the withdrawal of a candidate, and we had to decide how to properly handle that situation. The board's going to have some work cut out for it to address that issue and make sure everything lines up now that we're using electronic balloting, and we have the ballot set in advance. So we'll be addressing that. We have 4,121 registered voters in Carroll County, 2,717 in Frederick County, and we have 14 voters registered on the town registry, which gives us a total of 6,852 eligible voters. Given the nature of this election, we didn't know what to expect of what we would have as far as a turnout. But today, 388 voters showed up and cast ballots. We had 16 absentee ballots for a total of 404 ballots cast, which works out to about 5.9% voter turnout, which I think was excellent considering, again, that this was essentially appeared to be an uncontested election. So now for the election results. These are in alphabetical order as they were on the ballot, with the addition of the top two people that got write-in votes. Munder, 301. Poirier, 290.
Who's
Reed.
Brayer?
What?
Jason.
Jason.
Boyer, oh.
Reed, 306. Peter Helt, 11. And Scott Cercio, 5. We ended up with a total of 46 different write-ins. Everything from Mickey Mouse to don't put apartments downtown. So that concludes the report of the Board of Supervisors of Election, and we have certified the election results.
Thank you, appreciate your time. The swearing in will be May 20th per the town charter. Just as a point of order here, Jason will initially, as council secretary, will lead that meeting because we're in the unusual circumstance where we won't have a council president, at least at the start of that meeting. Typically what the council will do is at that meeting, it will choose a president or secretary and a town clerk. That will typically be all that will take place at that meeting. And that will be the 20th. I don't know what the time's scheduled to be, probably whatever Debbie sorts out.
Planning plans something on the, that's when their next meeting is supposed to be, correct? Twentieth, Monday the 20th.
I think the last thing I heard was possibly the 28th. Wednesday. That was the last email I found.
Okay, well, that'll all be sorted out, but that's when the swearing in will be. Do we have anything? Bruce, you want to give us your fire report
Get the
real
fire
quick?
report quickly. Yes, for the month of April, rescue calls, we had 112 in Carroll, 26 in Frederick, 3 in Howard, and 1 in Montgomery, for a total of 142 rescue calls. Fire, we had 14 in Carroll, 8 in Frederick, 1 in Howard, and 3 in Montgomery, for a total of 26 calls, which resulted in 126 calls for service in Carroll, 34 in Frederick, 4 in Howard, 4 in Montgomery, 168 calls for service. And we will be having our last breakfast of the season on the third Sunday of this month, and on the, I believe, the Friday, the 17th, we have a cash bingo. So
Thanks,
please
Bruce.
come out and support us. And we have a crew in Florida at the E1 plant inspecting and getting ready for the construction of our truck, which we have made the down payment on. So
Okay,
just waiting for it to be built.
and we voted on a budget tonight,
Yes,
which gives
we-
you guys a little more, so
We very much appreciate that.
glad to,
thank you.
glad to be able to do that, always. Unless there's any, Debbie?
I'm sorry, did I miss it? Is it 7 o'clock?
No, I said you'll put out whatever the time is.
Okay. Do we want to set it 7?
Do you want to set a time?
Carl Munder,
Carl, Patty,
Pam Reed.
Carl, Pam?
Do it now, then that would.
Let's celebrate.
Is 7 o'clock on the 20th good for you for being sworn in?
Thank you.
Should be, yes.
7 o'clock's good? All right. It will be 7 o'clock on the 20th. Huh? Jason will be opening and leading that meeting as council secretary.
We're gonna call a special order, and a special council meeting to order, and I'll do a press release and all of that.
You know how to do all that, but things that get, the council will choose a president, a secretary, and a clerk.
That'll be the swearing in as well.
That'll be at the, and swearing in will be first.
Yeah, that's not under special, it's just.
Right. All right, unless we got anything else, move we adjourn?
The VFW is open.
You want to see a second? Jason seconding, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Congratulations.
All right.
Good job, sir. Pleasure working.
Tom, it's been great working with you.
Absolutely.